Monday, everybody. It is Monday, the final day of February, February 28th, 2022. Um, it's actually a pretty day. It's about 40 degrees right now and gonna get warmer than that. So, uh, snow's melting. It's almost gone. So, what do we have today for our lectionary reading? We've got Psalm 35, 11 to 28. We've got Exodus 35, 1 to 29. And then Acts 10, 9 to 23a, first half of 23. All right. Do another cold reading here. Psalm 35, 11 to 28 in the New Revised Standard Version. Malicious witnesses rise up. They ask me about things I do not know. They repay me evil for good. My soul is forlorn. But as for me, when they were sick, I wore sackcloth. I afflicted myself with fasting. I prayed with head bowed on my bosom, as though I grieved for a friend or a brother. I went about as one who laments for a mother, bowed down and in mourning. But at my stumbling, they gathered in glee. They gathered together against me. Ruffians whom I did not know tore at me without ceasing. They impiously mocked more and more, gnashing at me with their teeth. How long, O Lord, will you look on? Rescue me from their ravages, my life from the lions. And then I will thank you in the great congregation. In the mighty throng, I will praise you. Do not let my treacherous enemies rejoice over me, or those who hate me without cause wink the eye. For they do not speak peace, but they conceive deceitful words against those who are quiet in the land. They open wide their mouths against me. They say, Aha, aha, our eyes have seen it. You have seen it, O Lord. Do not be silent. O Lord, do not be far from me. Wake up, bestir yourself for my defense, for my cause, my God and my Lord. Vindicate me, O Lord my God, according to your righteousness. Do not let them rejoice over me. Do not let them say to themselves, Aha, we have our heart's desire. Do not let them say, We have swallowed you up. Let all those who rejoice at my calamity be put to shame and confusion. Let those who exalt themselves against me be clothed with shame and dishonor. Let those who desire my vindication shout for joy and be glad, and say evermore, Great is the Lord who delights in the welfare of his servant. Then my tongue shall tell of your righteousness, your praise all day long. All right, let's go to Exodus 35, 1 to 29. We're going to talk about regulations here. Sabbath regulations, and then preparations for making the tabernacle. Tabernacle was the tent temple, basically. Before they settled down and built a temple, they worshipped the tabernacle. All right, Moses assembled all the congregation of the Israelites and said to them, These are the things that the Lord has commanded you to do. 6 days' work shall be done, but on the seventh day you shall have a holy Sabbath of solemn rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire in all your dwellings on the Sabbath day. And Jews have been arguing about what constitutes work ever since. My understanding is that you cannot, that in the Old Testament, in the New Testament, in the biblical era, you could not drag a chair across the floor on the Sabbath because the floors were dirt and it would create a furrow, which was work. This you shall kindle no fire in any of your dwellings on the Sabbath day. A strictly observant Jew in today's world won't flip a light switch on the Sabbath because it's making fire, it's turning on lights, it's work. So the really conservative observant Jews will have timers, lights, not doing work on the Sabbath. But I I don't know how many volumes have been written, how many words have been spent debating on what constitutes or any of the rest of 613 Mosaic laws. All right, preparations for making the tabernacle. Moses said to all the congregations of the Israelites, "This is the thing that the Lord has commanded. Take from among you an offering to the Lord. Let whoever is of a generous heart bring the Lord's offering: gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and crimson yarns, and fine linen, goat's hair, tanned ram skins, and fine leather, acacia wood, oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil and for the fragrant incense, and onyx stones and gems to be set in the ephod and the breastpiece. All who are skillful among you shall come and make all that the Lord has commanded. The tabernacle, its tent and its coverings, its clasps and its frames, its bars, its pillars, and its bases, the ark with its poles, the mercy seat." There's a footnote. Oh, or the cover. Oh, I lost my place. Where's the mercy? Sorry. Bear with me. There it is. And the curtains for the mercy seat and the curtains for the screens. The table with its poles and all its utensils and the bread of the presence. The lampstand also for the light with its utensils and its lamps and the oil for the light. Altar of incense with its poles and the anointing oil and the fragrant incense, and the screen for the entrance of the tabernacle. The altar of burnt offerings with its grating of bronze, its poles and all its utensils, the basin with its stand, hangings of the court, its pillars and bases, and the screen for the gates of the court, the pegs of the tabernacle, and the pegs of the court and their cords, finely worked vestments for ministering in the holy place, the holy vestments for the priest Aaron, and the vestments of his sons for their service as priests. Then we get to the offerings for the tabernacle. And all the congregation of the Israelites withdrew from the presence of Moses. And they came, everyone whose heart was stirred, and everyone whose spirit was willing, and brought the Lord's offering to be used for the tent of meeting, and for all its service, and for the sacred vestments. So they came, both men and women, all who were of a willing heart brought brooches and earrings, and signet rings and pendants, and all sorts of gold objects, everyone bringing an offering of gold to the Lord. And everyone who possessed blue or crimson or purple, or crimson yarn, or fine linen, or goat's hair, or tanned ram's skins, or fine leather, brought them. Everyone who could make an offering of silver or bronze brought it as the Lord's offering. Everyone who possessed acacia wood of any use in the work brought it. All the skillful women spun with their hands and brought what they had spun in blue and purple and crimson yarns and fine linen. All the women whose hearts moved them to use their skill spun the goat's hair. And the leaders brought onyx stones and gems to be set in the ephod and the breastpiece, the spices and oil for the light, and for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense. All the Israelite men and women whose hearts made them willing to bring anything for the work that the Lord had commanded by Moses to be done, brought it as a free will offering to the Lord. One of the things that particularly that section, I sometimes struggle with that word. I get my tongue wrapped around my eye teeth and I can't see what I'm saying. When they talk about the Exodus and even Deuteronomy and Leviticus, when it's in Numbers, when they're doing some of these descriptions, it seems so repetitive. They're saying the same stuff over and over again. And it can be frustrating reading. You're like, didn't I just read this? You get confused. Um, I'm assuming it helps in memorization because you got to remember most, especially the Old Testament, was oral story, oral tradition that eventually got written down hundreds of years later. Might help you remember all this. Yes, I know repetition is good for that, but it can be frustrating. Just have patience when you're reading these certain sections, especially when you get into the begats, the descriptions of the building of the temple and the tabernacle both. Sometimes it seems repetitive. All right, let's go into Acts. Acts 10, 9 to 23. Now, this is a continuation of Friday's text, where there was a captain of the Italian guard, a Roman named Cornelius, who lived in Caesarea. Um, he's described as a good man and a God worshiper, a Yahweh worshiper. An angel of God came to him and said, um, send men to Joppa to get Simon, the one everyone calls Peter. He's staying with Simon the tanner, whose house is down by the sea. So Cornelius, being a God-fearer, a God worshiper, he did that. And we're continuing our story from there. About noon the next day, as they were on their journey and approaching the city, Peter went up on the roof to pray. He became hungry and wanted something to eat, and while it was being prepared, he fell into a trance. He saw the heaven opened and something like a large sheet coming down and being lowered to the ground by its four corners. In it were all kinds of four-footed creatures and reptiles and birds of the air. And then he heard a voice saying, get up, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, by no means, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is profane or unclean. And the voice said to him again a second time, what God has made clean, you must not call profane. This happened 3 times, and the thing was suddenly taken up to heaven. Now, while Peter was greatly puzzled about what to make of the vision that he had seen, suddenly the men sent by Cornelius appeared. They were asking for Simon's house and were standing by the gate. And they called out and asked whether Simon, who was called Peter, was staying there. While Peter was still thinking about the vision, the Spirit said to him, look, 3 men are searching for you. Now get up, go down, and go with them without hesitation, for I have sent them. So Peter went down to the men and said, I am the one you're looking for. What is the reason for your coming? And they answered, Cornelius, a centurion, an upright and God-fearing man, who was well spoken of by the whole Jewish nation, was directed by a holy angel to send for you to come to his house and hear what you have to say. So Peter invited them in and gave them lodging. And the next day he got up and went with them, and some of the believers from Joppa accompanied him. Now, Peter's vision is significant. We often credit Paul with so much of the spreading the way of Jesus, the way of Christ, the Christ to the Gentiles. But yet Peter was part of that too. Paul did the lion's share, yes, but Peter, who is one of the 12, starting with this vision and this encounter with Cornelius, um, started the expansion of Christianity as it was at that time. Um, Sitting with and eating with a Gentile was unclean, right? So that was profane. Um, and there's a little bit of back and forth between Peter and Paul about that, because apparently Peter was not necessarily consistent um, with his application of that. But this is the beginning of it. It looks like it's talking about the food, right? Because there's animals, and the Spirit is telling them what God has made clean, you must not call profane, which means it's okay to eat things like pork. Where would we be without bacon, y'all? You gotta have to use some bacon. Uh, so but it's not just by food. Eating unclean foods, profane foods would make you unclean, but eating and spending time with Gentiles would as well. And that's where we're heading with this story. It's Peter is going to go with Cornelius, um, go to Cornelius and expand the way to a Gentile. I'll see you later, guys. Thank you.